So you have to create a story that's filled with suspense. How in the world are you going to make this story? You're panicking. I mean, really panicking. No need to panic. Just remember plot elements. Those are the things that help to bring everything together to create suspense and make your story filled with terror. So a plot is the chain of events that make up a story. So it all begins with characters. Characters are usually people, but they can be things such as animals, or I've even read a great story where a house that came to life was also the main character of a story. Then we have our setting. That's the time and place of the story. One of the most important things that is in the introduction of any story is the conflict. I like to use an X on a plot chart to remind me of what a conflict is. It's the problem. It's the thing that blocks my way, that gets in the way of whatever the problem is being solved. Then we have our complications, and there's usually two categories that complications fall into. They can be events or things in the way of the problem being solved. Next, we come to the most important part of the story, the climax. The climax is where the problem is solved, and a lot of people get mixed up with this, but this is where those arrows stop spinning round and round. Why? Because we now know how the problem is solved. The last plot element is the resolution. Now here's something interesting. Not all stories have a resolution. Sometimes they leave you hanging and wondering what's going to happen. Cliffhangers, where you have to go and see the sequel. But if a story has a resolution, it's letting you know what happened after the problem was solved. Did they live happily ever after? Were they able to build a new world and go on with life after their problem was solved? Did the criminals get punished? All those things are answered in your resolution. And finally, all stories have a theme. Your theme is your message about life. So let's review. In your introduction, we see our characters, which are people, animals, or things that the problem of the story revolves around. The setting, the time and place of the story. The conflict, the problem of the story, the most important part of the introduction. Complications, events or things in the way of the problem being solved. The climax, where the problem of the story is solved. Not all stories have a resolution, but if they do, it's to let you know what then happened after the problem was solved. And finally, all of the plot will give you a theme or a message about life. So now let's see how it's done. We're going to be focusing on plot elements as we read some suspense stories to see how did those writers use the characters, the setting, the conflict, the complications, the climax, the resolution, and a theme to bring suspense and create terror as we read.